National Treasury outlines GFECRA settlement agreement and its financial implications. The National Treasury of South Africa recently provided a comprehensive explanation of the amendments to the settlement framework of the Gold and Foreign Exchange Contingency Reserve Account, GFECRA, an initiative set forth in the nation's 2024 budget review. The reform was cemented in a new agreement signed in June 2024 by both the Minister of Finance and the Governor of the South African Reserve Bank, SARB. The pact details the segregation of the R250 billion distribution into three distinct buckets, which will serve different financial contingencies and obligations. The first bucket ensures that GFECRA retains adequate funds to offset possible fluctuations in the exchange rate. Without this fiscal buffer, the National Treasury could be compelled to absorb any exchange rate losses, potentially burdening the government's finances. According to Treasury statements, R100 billions of the aforementioned amount is being directed into a second bucket, SARB's contingency reserve. This strategic move is envisaged to uphold the central bank's solvency while also covering the sterilization costs, which are instrumental in nullifying the effects on interest rates. The third and final portion of the R250 billion will be dispatched to the National Treasury over a course of 3 fiscal years. R100 billion in 2024-25, followed by R25 billion increments in each of the subsequent 2 years. These funds will be allocated towards diminishing the government's borrowing with a far-reaching objective of curbing the expansion of the national debt. This redistribution from the GFECRA is being logged as a return on an investment, a differentiation made to avoid categorizing it as governmental revenue. The allocations are being managed through the National Revenue Fund, NRF, from which they will be utilized to address government commitments and buttress the SARB contingency reserve, as mandated by the GFECRA Defrayal Amendment Act of 2024. Treasury officials have underlined that every step of this process adheres to the financial governance protocols set by the Public Finance Management Act and the more specialized GFECRA Defrayal Amendment Act. This meticulous handling ensures that although funds move from the GFECRA investment to cash within the NRF to cater to SARB's reserve, it is strictly a balance sheet transaction. Clarity was also offered on the monthly reporting of the cash flow position of the government, a statutory obligation under the Public Finance Management Act. In tandem, the R200 billion received from SARB and the subsequent R100 billion allocated to the SARB contingency reserve are accurately reflected in the revenue reports with due transparency. Reducing the gross borrowing requirement depicts the government's strategy of leveraging these funds to minimize its need to borrow, in line with the stipulations of the GFECRA settlement agreement. This prudent fiscal administration signals a strengthening of the Treasury's commitment to sustainable financial management and debt reduction. Thank you for choosing Satori News.